Father trades his daughter's hand in marriage for a fine, purebred horse and shocks the whole town. Nathan squeezed Skylar's shoulder so hard she stifled a cry, feeling his fingers dig in like claws. The cold look in his eyes made it clear that pain was a warning. If she resisted, it could get worse. Jason noticed the move and took a step forward, but Nathan was faster. He flashed a calculated smile and, without easing the pressure, announced, "Our deal is sealed. That thoroughbred you took wasn't paid for with money. The payment is my daughter. She's going to be your wife." Jason frowned and stepped back, stunned. "What do you mean? We negotiated over a horse, that's it. I never agreed to this. And now you can't back out. The whole town will know you gave me your word. If you go back on it, you lose your honor and your business." Nathan shot back, icy. "She's your daughter, not a prize to hand over," Jason said. "She's my responsibility, and I decide what's best," Nathan replied. "And what's best is that she marry a respected man." Skylar kept her eyes down, panic rising. The deal was done, but the engagement hadn't been announced yet. Under her father's roof, every step she took became controlled. In the days that followed, Nathan turned the house into a prison. He picked out Skylar's clothes, always long and somber, banned visitors, locked doors, and monitored her mail. "You're going to learn how to carry yourself as the future wife of an important man," he would say. During a lunch with two neighbors, Nathan cut Skylar off mid-sentence and, smiling at the guests, said loudly, "Sorry, my daughter still doesn't know how to speak like a lady, but I'm fixing that." The men's stifled chuckles made her face burn, but Nathan went on eating as if nothing had happened. While he was distracted, bragging and puffing up his own importance, Skylar discreetly dropped a napkin with a hastily written note. One of the women present picked it up without drawing attention and slipped it into her purse. For a brief moment, Skylar felt she might have found a way out, but by late afternoon, she saw the crumpled paper sitting on the kitchen table. Her heart sank. Hours later, Skylar tried to slip out the back door to get something from the yard. Nathan appeared out of nowhere, grabbed her by the arm, and forced her back inside without a word. She thought about pushing back, but the memory of his recent threats froze her in place. Jason, however, started to sense something was off. One day, visiting the property, he found Skylar crying alone, locked in her bedroom since morning. "What happened?" he asked, worried. "He said I was late for lunch and locked me in here for hours," Skylar answered, wiping her face. "He wouldn't even let me out to get a glass of water." Anger surged through Jason. He went downstairs and confronted her father. "Nathan, this is abuse. You can't lock your daughter up over something so small." Nathan stood up slowly, walked over, and without warning, shoved him against the wall. "You're overstepping," he said, eyes drilling into him. "I just want her to be treated with dignity," Jason insisted, feeling the impact in his back. "Keep sticking your nose where it doesn't belong, and you'll disappear without a trace," Nathan threatened. Despite the threat, Jason didn't give up. He began offering Skylar small tasks in the stables, always behind Nathan's back. He would wait for her father to leave, help her slip out unseen, and bring her back before he returned. It worked for days, until one afternoon Nathan came home early, didn't find her in the house, and went straight to Jason's barns. "So this is where you two hide," he yelled, slamming the door open. "She's just helping care for the animals," Jason said, stepping between them. "You're trying to pull my daughter away from me, and if you keep it up, you'll regret it," Nathan threatened. "I just want her to have a little freedom," Jason replied. "Her life is my business, and anyone who meddles with what's mine, I destroy." Nathan drove a hard blow into Jason's shoulder, then yanked Skylar by the arm and dragged her away by force. The next day, Nathan spread word around town that Jason wanted to steal Skylar's inheritance and run off with her assets. The story traveled fast, and no one cared to hear Jason's side. Nathan was seen as an honorable man, and his word carried more weight than any explanation. Within days, Jason's reputation was wrecked. Later, when Jason ran into an old acquaintance outside a store, he stepped closer and, in a low voice, told his version of events. The man didn't answer, but the slight arch of his eyebrow showed that at least a seed of doubt had been planted. At the same time, Nathan started pressuring Skylar to sign papers transferring her mother's property into his name. He'd lay the documents on the table and stand there, staring her down. "Sign already, girl." "It's just a formality," he said, pushing them toward her. "I'm not signing anything without reading," Skylar answered, trying to stand firm. Nathan leaned in until his face was inches from hers. "You're going to sign now, and if you refuse, I'll say Jason assaulted you. You know what happens to a man accused of that? He disappears behind bars, and in there, nobody's going to care what happens to him." A chill ran down Skylar's spine. "That's a lie, and you know it," she murmured, but the threat had already cracked her resolve. "Sign. Now." Hands shaking, she obeyed and signed, swallowing her anger and fear. But that night, once Nathan was asleep, she quietly opened the drawer where he kept the documents, took the envelope out, and carefully separated a copy. She folded the paper and hid it in a small box under loose floorboards in the corner of the pantry. It wasn't much, but it was something he hadn't destroyed, and it might help later. When Jason found out, he exploded. "He forced you to sign? That's a crime, Skylar," he said, gripping her hands tight. "I didn't have a choice," she said, voice breaking on the verge of tears. "If I didn't sign, he was going to ruin you. I couldn't bear that." Jason raked his hands through his hair, exasperated. "We can't let this slide. He can't keep acting like he's above everything." That's when a sliver of hope appeared. As if he had sensed Skylar's suffering, a trusted employee of Nathan's quietly sought them out. When he found them, he spoke in a low voice, glancing around to make sure no one was listening. "I saw everything. I can confirm he manipulates, that he threatens, that he treats his own daughter like an object. If you need me, I'll testify." Before leaving, he pulled a small, crumpled envelope from his pocket and placed it in Jason's hand. "Don't open it here. Only use it if you really have to. It could help you." It was the first spark of hope in days. Jason felt that finally they had something solid to use against Nathan, but it didn't last. The next morning, the employee simply vanished. A co-worker told them, without meeting their eyes, he was fired and left town. Nobody knows where he went. The news hit Jason like a punch to the gut. He's scrubbing away any trail that could lead back to him. "And it's working," he said, his voice thick with frustration and anger. "What if he does the same to you?" Skylar asked, her voice low, as if the walls themselves might be listening. "Then we'll have to be faster than he is," Jason replied, though deep down he knew Nathan's shadow stretched over them like a prison. "What can we even do?" "He's always one step ahead," Skylar said, glancing around as if her father might appear at any moment. "We need something he can't erase, and fast," Jason insisted, straightening up. "If we can get any proof notarized and on file, we'll have a legal safeguard against him." 2 days later, Jason returned with a folder stuffed with papers. "I spent the last few nights digging through records at the office. I managed to find copies of documents showing your father registered properties in other people's names to hide what he was doing. I also got signature comparisons, and they clearly show forgeries. Oh, and I opened the envelope that employee gave me before he disappeared. Inside were some photos of your father's illegal documents. Put together with what I found, it makes an even stronger case." He spread the folder out on the table and showed her the documents one by one, pointing out the key parts. "Once this is officially filed and notarized, he won't be able to say we made it up." This evidence ties your father directly to fraud and forgery. Is that enough? Skylar asked, fingertips brushing the pages. It's what we've got. And it's more than he thinks we have, Jason said with a determined half-smile. And if we need more, we still have your statement that he forced you to sign papers to transfer your mother's assets into his name. In front of a judge, that carries a lot of weight. The optimism didn't last. On the morning Jason headed for the clerk's office, Nathan intercepted him on the dirt road. Skylar's father's car suddenly swung across, blocking the way. Nathan stepped out with measured strides, his gaze cold as a blade. "Where do you think you're going with that paperwork?" he asked, pointing at the folder. "That's none of your business," Jason said, trying to stay calm. "Anything involving my daughter and my name is my business," Nathan said, yanking the folder out of his hands. "You really thought you could run around making accusations without paying the price?" Jason stepped forward, but was slammed hard against his own car door. Before he could react, two men with Nathan rushed him, one of them swinging a length of wood. The attack was quick. Jason had no chance to fight back, and the world went black in an instant. By day's end, Skylar realized Jason was missing, and her heart plummeted. She spent hours trying to reach him. Nothing. When she finally understood something had happened, her breath hitched. "Dad, where's Jason?" she asked, her voice shaking. "Him? No idea. Maybe he went off to think things over," Nathan answered with a smile dripping with cynicism. Alone, not knowing whether Jason was alive, Skylar decided to act on her own. She went back to the hiding place where she kept the document copies she had managed to save. As she brushed dust off the lid, she thought, "At least this he hasn't found." The relief didn't last. The next morning she woke to find Nathan standing in her room, gripping the box. "I knew you were still hiding something. All I had to do was follow you. And I found this," he said, lifting the box before throwing it to the floor. How did you find out?" she asked, backing away, heart racing. "I always know what you're doing," Nathan said, grinding the papers under his boots, then tossing part of them into the fireplace. "And you'd better not try that again." From that moment on, his control tightened. He decided it was time to formalize what he'd planned from the start. "You're going to announce your engagement to Jason in my presence. You'll smile, you'll say you're happy, and you won't miss a word," he ordered. "I'm not going to pretend," Skylar said, her voice shaking with anger. "Oh, you will, or Jason will never be seen again," Nathan shot back, making it clear he wasn't bluffing. The announcement party was only days away, but Nathan already behaved like the owner of her fate. He directed her every gesture and word, barking cold orders while forcing her to rehearse fake smiles to put on for the neighbors. During one of those preparation days, a man approached her on the street, eyes on edge. "I'm a journalist. I have information that can take Nathan down," he said, scanning the area as if he feared he was being tailed. "What information?" she asked, trying to keep the hope from showing. "Evidence of dirty deals, but not here. Meet me tomorrow morning, alone." His sentence cut off when two men came up behind him and slammed him against the wall. One grabbed him by the collar while the other landed quick blows. "Stay out of what's not your problem," one of the attackers snarled. Right then, Nathan appeared, walking with firm steps and an expression of contempt. "So you're the rat sniffing around in my life," he said, stepping up to the fallen journalist. "I'd been told someone was poking around too much, and I knew sooner or later he'd try to contact somebody. All I had to do was wait. The fish just took the bait." He gave a cold smile, as if the scene were just another game he controlled, then turned to Skylar. "You okay, sweetheart? Hope this kind of person hasn't been bothering you." Rage burned inside her, but helplessness was stronger. Once again, Nathan walked away unscathed, as if untouchable. The day of the party arrived, and Nathan moved through the hall like a king, greeting guests with a proud smile, certain he had everything under control. Skylar smiled mechanically, repeating her rehearsed lines, until a commotion near the door made everyone turn. Jason was there, alive. His face was marked with bruises, his clothes dirty and wrinkled, and behind him stood 2 armed police officers. He strode in, his voice slicing through the chatter. "It's over, Nathan!" Nathan backed up, trying to slip out a side exit, but the officers grabbed him before he could take 2 steps. Skylar ran to Jason, tears already falling. "My God! I thought I'd lost you!" "I was taking the evidence in when they jumped me. I didn't even have time to react." "Who did this?" she asked, taking in his injuries. "His men. They beat me until I blacked out. I woke up locked in a warehouse with an employee watching me. Nathan showed up and said he'd let me go after the engagement announcement." Skylar gripped his hand, voice choked. "And you got away." "That night, I took the guy down and went straight to the police." She leaned her forehead to his, crying in relief. "I knew you'd come back, just not like this." In the days that followed, the journalist and the dismissed employee gave statements, confirming Nathan's threats and fraud. The evidence was enough to convict him, along with his henchmen, to 20 years in prison. Skylar recovered all of her family's assets and for the first time felt in control of her own life, as she closed the ranch gate behind her, leaving the weight of the past on the other side. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, give it a like, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. See you in the next story.